PlayStation shows us what the future looks like going all digital, which is not very good, and Hall H went green for Marvel's Comic-Con panel. Welcome to this week's Nerd Roundup, hosted by the Nerd Factory. I'm Jake, let's catch you up. Before we properly get into this, let's start with some nice PlayStation news for once. Finally, nice and PlayStation being in the same sentence is not something I've said for months. God of War Laufey got a release date. The game will release on February 16th of next year, which makes February a very busy month for gaming releases, as the new Tomb Raider, Fable, and the new Metro also release in that month. So there's a lot of stuff to do in that month. Everyone's wallet is going to be very thin in February. Cory Barlog, the game director of the God of War games, have also stated that the next Kratos-led God of War game is coming after Laufey, and it'll be directly connected to the story of the Laufey game. So, for all those people moaning, saying, why are we getting a Laufey game? There's a reason. Funny enough, they think of these things. I'm still excited to play it. I just, annoyingly, as much as PlayStation of doing stupid stuff, which I'll get onto in a minute, they did some stupid stuff this week. I am just excited for all the games they're releasing. You've got Wolverine coming out in September. You've got God of War Laufey coming out next year in February. Gaming-wise, PlayStation are doing pretty good. Now to more not-so-nice PlayStation news, because it's PlayStation, they can't help themselves. After the last couple of weeks of PlayStation announcements, we were told that from 2028, physical discs would not be produced for any PlayStation games, leading to an all-digital ecosystem. This, obviously, didn't go down very well. One of the major complaints that was pointed to PlayStation and in Sony's direction, as they also were involved in that choice, was that what would happen if PlayStation Network went down? And who would have thought PlayStation Network went down this week? The main question was, how would players be able to play their games if the servers were down? And obviously we got that answer. On Friday, it did go down for about 8 hours, which for PlayStation, that's nothing. They had it gone on for, I think it was 23 days, I think was their longest running back in the day. So this was nothing to PlayStation. However, there were reports that players who brought games within the 30 days of the outage were not actually able to play their games due to the license check feature that PlayStation added in, which annoyingly needs the PlayStation servers to continually check whether you have a valid license to play your game or not. And with the servers being down, that led to some of those games being inaccessible. Obviously, please take that with a pinch of salt, as, again, people might be rage baiting and clickbaiting, so that might not necessarily be correct. But who knows? This could be what happens in the future, where they might change a few different things out of the blue, like they did with the physical disc announcement. And that could be how it works in the future, going in an all-digital ecosystem. And if they have downtime like they've had in the past, this could be really bad. And especially you've got some very, I'll say, evil people that will take it in 2028, and they will possibly knock those servers down, and people might not be able to download their games, might not be able to play online games. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know whether PlayStation have thought of, because their servers go down every couple of months, and it's not good, and I'm slightly worried about it. It is my favorite time of year. Hall H, Marvel Studios, San Diego Comic-Con. There is nothing like it. Just all the cool announcements that you get. Awesome. However, this year there wasn't that many film announcements compared to previous years where they've announced like entire 8 or 9 movie TV show phases. This one was very much in the boat of, hey, Doomsday is coming out, that's our main focus, which was majority of the panel. But let's start off with the new announcements and the confirmations from the 1-hour panel that Kevin Feige was on for pretty much most of it. Vision Quest has been confirmed for October 14th on Disney+. Kevin Feige said that it marks the end of Wanda's trilogy, which is kind of hard to figure out what's the trilogy, if I'm being honest, because there's 2 different ways you could probably look at it. WandaVision and Vision Quest are definitely the beginning and the end of this trilogy. It's what you put in the middle. Either you could have Doctor Strange 2, which obviously was very much a Wanda story to a degree, even though it's focusing on Strange. Wanda was a very big part of that movie. But you could also have it be the Agatha show, as that was also quite a big thing that linked in with Wanda, although Wanda wasn't in it. Kind of showed off, hey, this is the repercussions of her actions in Westview. And then the Agatha show happened, and then obviously we go with Agatha and the witches down the road with that cool song that I don't want to get stuck in my head if I think about it too much. But again, I don't know. You can kind of decide which trilogy. I think they mean WandaVision, Doctor Strange 2, Vision Quest is the trilogy, which again is interesting considering Wanda's not announced to be in Vision Quest at all. So I'm kind of curious of how it's the end of a trilogy for her, but she's not in it, which is kind of why I brought in the Agatha thing, because how can you have an end of a trilogy when she's not in it? So that was my thing. Obviously, you can choose whichever trilogy you think that is, but it'll be interesting. I'm very excited for Vision Quest. The first new announcement, though, for the panel was actually Ghost Rider, which I am so excited for it. Ryan Gosling has been confirmed as Ghost Rider, but which Ghost Rider he's playing is still up in the air. He's either going to be Johnny Blaze, which is the character that Nick Cage played in his movies for Ghost Rider, or he could be Danny Ketch. Again, either one kind of works. If you give him Danny Ketch, obviously that gives the ability of Nick Cage coming back as Johnny Blaze, maybe, because obviously who knows what happens in this movie. But Feige did state that it's up to Ryan when he releases that information, so who knows when we're getting that. Sean Levy, who actually directed Deadpool and Wolverine, so he's done an MCU movie, is going to be directing this movie too. So that's a pretty good sign for Star Wars. Sorry, I'm going completely different fandom real quick. That is very good news for Star Wars fans, as both Levy and Gosling are going to be a part of the Starfighter movie, which I am very excited for. So if Disney really want to redo this pair, but with a Marvel movie, they got to be real confident in Starfighter, surely. Because if you had any concerns, why would you put them in another movie in one of your biggest franchises? So I as a nerd, am eating good right now, and I love this. This is great. The film will be released in 2028, which is actually going to be after Secret Wars that releases in December 27. So the apparent reset of the MCU that's meant to be happening after Secret Wars, again, that is up in the air. No one really knows. It's kind of just like spitballing ideas. That could be afterwards, and we could be on one planet with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the Midnight Suns, because apparently people are now saying that there's going to be a Midnight Suns movie. That is completely out of left field. Do I think it can happen? Definitely. Are they ever going to confirm that before Secret Wars? No. I think that won't be for another couple years before they confirm a full-on phase, because I think they want to get Secret Wars out the way, and then they'll start announcing all the juicy stuff. The other major announcement for this panel was Black Panther 3. Ryan Coogler is returning to direct the movie and will actually be using IMAX 70mm to film some parts of the movie, is something that I saw, which I hope is true, because that's very cool. I don't think any of the movies, apart from, I think it was Endgame and Infinity War, I think those were the only two that may have been shot in IMAX, not IMAX 70mm. So I might be wrong on that. I'm kind of spitballing up my head. I didn't do research on that. Don't quote me. But it would be cool if that is true, because I would love to get at some point a movie that is IMAX 70mm, because I've never seen an IMAX movie. I really want to. Every time I go and look at the BFI in London, it's always booked out. You have to be like real quick on those. The film releases December 15th, 2028, which is also after Secret Wars and the possible reset, which also leads into the announcement of a new Black Panther. David Johnson, who starred in Alien Romulus, will take on the mantle, but his actual character's name, just like Gosling's Ghost Rider, has not been shared. It's possible that as it's after Secret Wars, T'Challa's son from the second movie could all be grown up and takes the mantle from Shuri, which is a little sad to me because I really like Shuri's story in Black Panther 2, and not seeing her be Black Panther for more than like 20 minutes kind of feels like a missed opportunity to me, because she does dawn it in the comics, and that story was just cool. The parts that we got with Shuri were very good, but who knows? After this reset, we could have an entirely new Shuri. Who knows? I hope, because she is going to be in Doomsday, that we get to see her be Black Panther in a very cool way. Because Black Panther is a very cool character. And I would have loved if Chadwick was still with us and we actually got to saw him play a bit more of Black Panther, because he was so good. He was so good. But obviously, sadly, that is not the case. And Shuri did take up that mantle, and Letitia White did a good job. The last announcement wasn't actually from this panel. It was actually from an interview with Brandon Davis and Kevin Feige after the panel itself. And it's about Nova, which Brandon Davis has been asking for years to get Nova in the MCU. And he asked this question to Feige, be like, hey, is it a TV show? Is it a movie? Kind of getting like, hey, give me some confirmation that it still exists. Feige asked the Marvel rep if they had anything to say about Nova, and she responded, absolutely nothing. Feige then confirmed after the confirmation that they confirmed nothing, that it is a movie. They're still doing it. So we're getting a Nova movie at some point, but they're definitely not close to being ready to announce it or give a logo or whatever. But we're getting Nova at some point, which is a little bit sad we couldn't get it in this version of the MCU, because they had loads of time, just like Blade, loads of time to bring it in, but they just didn't. So who knows? To celebrate Doomsday's release, Endgame is actually being re-released in cinemas September 25th. It will come with an exclusive look at Doomsday, which will probably be an end credit scene, as Endgame didn't have one when it originally released, so it's definitely going to be at the end of the movie. So hopefully it's something cool. Hopefully it's not like a trailer thing. I hope it's like just a full-on clip. Just at this point, give me anything that makes me more hyped for this movie than I already am. Talking of Doomsday, we actually got another trailer on Monday after the last Nerd Roundup came out, which is really annoying. I love that when that happens because it keeps happening. Within this trailer, the public actually got its first look at Doom along with RDJ's accent, which is actually pretty good. If they kept RDJ a secret and then released it and didn't tell anyone RDJ was Doom, I would not have been able to tell that was RDJ. His accent work is incredible. He also did a little bit during the panel as well, which doesn't sound anything like him, and it's so good. Like it just reminds me back when they announced him originally and people were moaning, like, oh, why is RDJ playing Doom? This is stupid. That is why. He's such a good actor. That is why. Anyway, we actually got a look at the new Avengers Tower, which just slightly different design, just with a massive A at the bottom, or like, well, I say bottom, in the middle of the tower. We also saw the Fantastic Four with Thor, which gives very much Infinity War vibes when Thor falls in with the Guardians. But this time, Thor is actually scared, and he's scared of Doom. In a room with the Fantastic Four, the new Avengers, and some other heroes, he pretty much said they all suck in comparison to the original Avengers that would have been in Endgame. And some of the original Avengers did die fighting someone less than Doom, in Thor's words. Which really drives home not only Thor being scared of Doom, but how powerful Doom actually is. And the trailer also showed this. Doom and Thor had a little battle going on, and Doom wiped the floor, kind of how Thanos did with Hulk. And we're probably going to get a similar vibe with that in the beginning of the movie to show, hey, I'm not messing around. We also got a look at the X-Men fighting the Avengers with Gambit and Shang-Chi throwing it down with each other, and Yelena had to fight herself again versus Mystique, which just the fact that I said those words is just cool. You tell me in 2008 when I was 8 years old watching Iron Man 1 and the Incredible Hulk that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers, which I didn't know what that was at the time because I wasn't that into Marvel when I was 8 years old. Just this as a whole is just insane. It's in the equivalence of seeing the 3 Spider-Men together in No Way Home. Like, it's that level of crazy where if you told someone that at the beginning of the MCU or when the original Avengers movie came out, you're like, yeah, it's gonna go from this to this, people would call you nuts and insane. Like, that's how cool this is. And the last hurrah of this trailer, just to top it all off, shows Thor's first meeting with Steve Rogers after Endgame, to which he allows Steve to test his worthiness, to see if he's still worthy. And he is. He's still worthy. He can still take Mjolnir straight to his hand without any question. So he's still worthy. Although I did see some really cool suggestions on that actually might not be Steve Rogers and it could be Loki, which would be a cool twist because that would mean that Loki would be worthy. Which I feel like at this point he should be, considering he's literally the savior of the timeline at the minute. Which again is a whole other thing that they haven't even looked at in the trailers. There's so many characters they haven't even looked at, and Loki is definitely one of them, because he's definitely going to be a big time player, and they are hiding that entirely, which is so cool. And it just makes me more excited for the movie as well. The trailer, the people they haven't shown yet, like it's kind of nuts, and I can't wait for the surprises we'll get in that movie. Kind of like the surprises we got at Hall H, which is kind of nuts. Feige invited the Russo brothers to take the stage, and they said they wanted to reconjure the back row as the front row, as 2 stages appeared at the back. One with a gigantic X representing the X-Men logo, and one with a gigantic A representing the Avengers, with some of the cast showing up to a raucous applause. The X stage has Tinoch Hirata as Namor, Kelsey Grammer as Beast, Rebecca Moraine as Mystique, James Marsden Cyclops, Lewis Pullman as Bob, or Sentry, or Void, depending on which we're getting in this movie, Hannah John Kamen as Ghost, and David Harbour as Red Guardian. The age stage had Winston Duke as M'Baku, Letitia White as Shuri or Black Panther, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, Anthony Mackie as Captain America, which is a very big distinction by the way, Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, and Danny Ramirez as the Falcon. RDJ then joined them along with Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards, Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter, and Chris Evans as Steve Rogers. Later on, Ryan Reynolds also showed up in a grey Deadpool suit to ask Paul Rudd why was Thor crying, to which Rudd responded with he supports Wrexham, which that didn't go down too well with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool. The more that time goes on, the more I just want to see this movie. But again, we've got Spider-Man this week, so I'm so ready to nerd out over the next like 5 months until Doomsday comes around. Because we've got Spider-Man, we've got Vision Quest, X-Men 97 is currently out, doing episodes every week, which I still have to watch. And then there's also the Endgame re-release, which is kind of nuts. And then that's just Marvel. We've got Lanterns coming out in a couple weeks for DC. Like, it is a good time to be a nerd. Now you're all caught up. I love being a nerd. And Comic-Con always supports that idea, because no matter what happens at Comic-Con, there's always something for someone. And it's just cool. One day I'll go to San Diego Comic-Con. That's like a pipe dream. That's not something that's gonna happen for a while. I hope it would happen sooner rather than later, but who knows? But as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, as you'll be getting a Nerd Roundup every Monday at 6 p.m. UK time. If you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see or anything you'd really like to say, comment down below and I'll try and respond as soon as I can. Other than that, I'll see you next week.